My mom once told me, "You'll never make anything of yourself. You're just not like your brother." Years later, my brother applied for a job at the company I secretly owned. I interviewed him myself and let him talk about how much he deserved success. Hey there, we're working hard to hit our first 1,000 subscribers. If you love true, emotional stories, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know. Now let's get into the story. You'll never make anything of yourself. You're just not like your brother. That's what my mom told me. Dead serious. No hesitation. Just said it. Right there at the dinner table, while she passed the mashed potatoes to my brother like he was some chosen heir to the family legacy. I was 17. I didn't say anything. Just sat there, fork frozen in midair, trying to act like it didn't burn. But it did. God, it did. It wasn't even a fight. That would have made more sense. It was just a normal Tuesday. One moment we were eating dinner. The next she was casually crushing my soul like she was reading the weather. My older brother, Ryan, he just smirked. Didn't say a word. Of course not. Why would he? He'd been the favorite since birth. Quarterback. Honor student. Prom king. The whole package. He was everything my parents wanted in a son. Charming, confident, expensive haircut, perfect LinkedIn smile. And me? I was the quiet one. The kid who fixed the Wi-Fi and didn't ask for much. The "don't you have something better to do" kid. I used to think maybe I was just being dramatic. That maybe I was imagining the favoritism. But no. That line confirmed everything. You're just not like your brother. From that day on, I stopped trying to prove anything to them. That same night, I knocked on Ryan's bedroom door while he was blasting music and scrolling through job listings he didn't deserve. "Hey," I said, "I think I'm going to move out after graduation." He laughed. "With what money?" I didn't answer, because at the time, I didn't have any. But I knew I'd figure it out. Not to prove anything to them. Not even for revenge. Just because deep down, I was tired of living in a house where I was already declared a failure before I'd even started my life. I moved out 3 days after graduation. No ceremony. No photos. No, "we're proud of you" moment. Just me, a duffel bag, and a roommate I found off Craigslist who barely spoke English and kept frozen rats in the freezer for his snake. That first year, it sucked. I slept on a floor mattress that gave me back pain at 19. I worked nights as a dishwasher at a greasy burger joint that paid $9 an hour under the table. And during the day, I stocked shelves at a discount warehouse store where my manager called me kid, even though he was only 2 years older. Meanwhile, my brother Ryan was uploading gym selfies and taking shots of espresso in his new downtown office, a startup my parents basically funded for him. They co-signed his lease, bought him a car, and called me selfish when I didn't drive an hour to help him move in. I never told them where I lived. They didn't ask. But here's the thing no one saw. While everyone else was out drinking on weekends, I stayed in. I started watching coding tutorials. YouTube, Udemy, anything I could get for free. I didn't even know what I was doing half the time, but something about the logic of it, how things fit, clicked in my brain in a way my family never did. I'd spend hours after my shift trying to make simple scripts. At first, I couldn't even get "Hello, World" to print right. But little by little, it started to stick. 6 months in, I built a janky little budgeting app just for fun. Something basic, track expenses, calculate savings goals, nothing fancy. I posted it on Reddit. Got maybe 5 upvotes. But one of the comments said, "This is actually super helpful. You should make this a real tool." I didn't sleep that night. Not out of anxiety, but because for the first time in my life, someone, anyone, saw value in something I made. I took the idea and ran with it. Every cent I had, I poured into learning. I upgraded from tutorials to real courses. Bought a secondhand laptop that didn't overheat after 20 minutes. Eventually, I posted a beta version of my tool on Product Hunt. It didn't go viral. No headlines. No overnight success. But I got 142 users that week. That was all I needed. Fast forward 2 years, I'd moved out of rat snake roommate hell and into a tiny studio. Still cheap, but quiet. Clean. Mine. The app kept growing. A few tech bloggers picked it up. I got featured on a finance podcast. A few angel investors reached out. I formed an LLC. Not under my real name, though. I used my middle name and a fabricated surname. No social media. No selfies. No family ties. I wanted everything about this to be mine, and mine alone. By 25, I had a team of 5. By 26, I stopped checking the bank account. By 27, my company was hiring. And that's when I saw a familiar name on a resume that landed in my inbox. Ryan, my brother. Same smug grin on his LinkedIn profile photo. Same overinflated list of achievements that looked a lot better on paper than they ever did in reality. And me? I was the founder of the company he was begging for a second chance at life in. But he had no idea. Not yet. When I first saw his application in our internal system, I actually laughed out loud. Not a bitter laugh. Just that weird, breathless kind you let out when the universe drops something ridiculous in your lap. There it was, Ryan, last name, applying for a product manager position. 3 references, none of which I recognized. For jobs in 6 years. A glowing cover letter that read like it was written by ChatGPT and edited by a frat boy. And that same air of entitlement I remembered from childhood, now condensed into resume bullet points. He had no idea, of course. My company name wasn't public-facing under my real identity. I used a pseudonym, a separate LinkedIn, and stayed away from press. We didn't even list executives on our About page. I clicked Move to Interview. My team scheduled it like any other. He got an email from our recruiter. Standard screening questions, then a slot booked with the department head, aka me. When the day came, I made sure to dim my webcam lighting just enough to keep my face in the shadows. We started the call, and the second his face popped up, same slick haircut, same smug eyes, same voice that once told me, "Dude, you'll probably end up fixing my printer one day." "Hey, Ryan here," he said, sitting back like he was already in charge. Really excited about this opportunity. I nodded. "Glad to have you, Ryan. Let's dive in." He launched into his monologue like he'd practiced in front of a mirror for hours. Said he was strategic. Said he was born to lead. Claimed he'd transformed digital systems at his last company, the one that laid him off during a restructure, which, by the way, I knew had nothing to do with digital anything. It was a food delivery startup. He handled menu PDFs. But I said nothing. Just nodded. Took notes. I asked questions that dug deep, real product leadership stuff. Market positioning, revenue modeling, user retention strategies. He stumbled through half of them, gave vague answers, tried to pivot back to buzzwords like vision, team synergy, and growth mindset. He actually said growth mindset. I almost choked. At one point, he leaned in and said, "Look, I'm just going to be real. I've worked with some seriously incompetent devs before. I'm looking for a place where I can actually lead without carrying dead weight." And that's when I smiled. Because I had a flashback to being 17, carrying both our dinner plates to the sink while he watched football and barked, "Make yourself useful, loser." I wrapped the interview like any other. "Thanks for your time, Ryan. You'll hear from us soon." He gave a cocky thumbs up. "Looking forward to it, man." He had no idea. He still doesn't know who I am. But he was about to find out. The email only took 30 seconds to write. Subject, application status, product manager. Body, "Hi Ryan, thank you for your time. After reviewing your interview and application, we've decided to move forward with other candidates. We wish you the best of luck in your search." But that wasn't the part that mattered. It was the PS at the bottom. "PS, you're just not like your brother." I hovered over the send button, paused, smiled, then clicked. I wish I could have seen his face when he read it. I imagine he stared at the screen for a long minute, rereading it, thinking it was a glitch. Or maybe a sick coincidence. But then the second wave probably hit. Who would know to say that? Because that line, "You're just not like your brother," that was Mom's line. Her mantra. Her favorite insult. She said it so often, I half expected it to be carved into her tombstone someday. And now it was being used against him. It didn't take long. The first email hit my inbox 20 minutes later. "Ryan, hey, strange email I got from your company. Not sure if it's a mistake, but there was a weird personal line in it. Is that standard for rejections?" I didn't respond. An hour later, another email. "I'm just trying to understand. That brother line, is this a joke or something? Did I piss someone off?" Still nothing. Then the third email, almost frantic. "Do I know you? Seriously, are you someone I went to school with? This is getting weird. Please respond." I sat back in my chair, sipping my coffee, watching it unfold like a slow burn drama. My assistant messaged me. "Hey, candidate Ryan seems to be escalating. You want me to loop in HR?" I typed, "No need. I'll handle it." And then, as fate would have it, the perfect opportunity dropped into my lap. A few days later, my parents hosted a birthday dinner for my aunt. Nothing major. Just family. I wasn't going to go. I hadn't been to one of these things in years, but something in me said, no. Go. Show up. And that's where it happened. Ryan saw me walk into the room, and for a second, his expression didn't change. But then I watched the moment recognition hit. He blinked, stared, and I could see his mind flipping through every frame of that interview like a mental slideshow. I smiled. Calm. Casual. Just walked over, shook hands with my uncle, made small talk like nothing happened. But Ryan? He couldn't stop looking at me. He finally walked over and hissed under his breath, "Was that you?" I didn't answer. I just looked him in the eyes and said, "Still not like you." Thank God. Then I walked away and grabbed a slice of cake. Ryan didn't sit down for dinner that night. He just stood in the hallway, watching me laugh with my cousins, like I was some ghost from a life he thought he'd buried. I didn't acknowledge him again. Not once. Not even when my mom walked in, gave me that fake surprised, "Oh, you made it," voice she uses when she wants to act like she's still in control of the narrative. I just nodded, smiled politely, and asked my aunt how retirement was going. The tension was a full-body presence in that room. Then it happened. Mid-meal, Ryan snapped. He stood up, right in front of everyone, and said, "All right, I just need to say something. This guy," points at me, "is a liar. He tricked me into an interview, used a fake name, then sent me a rejection with mom's words as a joke. That's messed up, right?" The room went silent. Even the forks paused. My mom looked at me, confused. "What's he talking about?" I calmly wiped my mouth with a napkin. Then I said, "I didn't use a fake name, Ryan. I used my name, just not the one you ever bothered to ask about." He turned red. "Wait, you own that company?" I shrugged. "Technically, the board does. I just built it from scratch, hired the team, wrote the back end, closed the seed round, and pay everyone's salaries. So yeah." My dad looked like he'd swallowed a stapler. "You work in tech?" he asked. I tilted my head. "No, Dad. I run tech." Then came the kicker. Ryan, still sputtering, tried to save face. "This is psycho behavior, man. What kind of lunatic interviews their own brother just to humiliate him?" I stood up, still calm, still casual, and I said, "What kind of brother tells someone they'll never amount to anything, and then asks him for a job?" Dead silence. Not even a fork scraped. I left the room a minute later. Didn't wait for dessert. Didn't care about fake apologies or awkward hugs. On my way out, my cousin grabbed my arm and whispered, "That was the coldest thing I've ever seen. And you didn't even raise your voice." I smiled, because I didn't need to. It's been 6 months since that dinner. Ryan hasn't spoken to me since. Neither has my mom. Which, honestly, isn't that different from before, except now, the silence is less passive-aggressive and more permanent. And I'm okay with that. They say revenge is best served cold. I disagree. I think the real revenge is not needing revenge at all. Because the truth is, I didn't build my company to get back at them. I built it because no one believed in me. And eventually, I had to believe in myself or fall apart. I hired people who reminded me of me. Quiet, overlooked, underestimated. Some of them had bad grades, weird gaps in their resumes, or no degrees at all. You know what they had in common? They showed up. They worked hard. They listened. And they didn't think they were better than the people cleaning the floors. One of my employees, Jamal, started out sweeping the co-working space we rented. Now he runs customer experience for US and earns 6 figures. He asked me once why I gave him a chance. I told him the truth. Because someone once told me I'd never be anything. And I swore I'd never turn into the kind of person who believed that about anyone else. My brother? Last I heard, he's freelancing, trying to launch another startup. Still posting CEO of my own life crap on Instagram. I don't hate him, but I don't respect him either. And as for my mom, I got a birthday card from her last week. No apology, no call, just a card that said, "Hope you're well. We miss you." Inside, she tucked a photo from my childhood. Me, about 10 years old, standing beside Ryan, both of us holding trophies. His was for football. Mine was for the school science fair. On the back, she'd written, "You were always different." Maybe that's not a bad thing. I stared at that line for a while, and then I tossed the card in the drawer and went back to work. Because I'm not chasing crumbs anymore. Not from people who once told me I'd starve. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.